I try to get both of us in there.
Yeah,
I guess
sounds good.
we stand right about here. So this is Julian, and he's had about a minute to think about my question. Yeah. So what do you think happens after we die?
So, I mean, I guess that, like, the easiest way to explain it would be, like, basically believe in reincarnation, I guess. Yeah, I don't really believe in, like, an afterlife, per se. I just kind of think that after you die, your consciousness either, like, become another person through your consciousness, or you don't. And
so when you say reincarnation, do you mean into another person, or does it have to be like? Does it have to be another person, or would you think it could be a animal or something, or?
Right. Yeah. I think that it really could be anything. I think that, like, I mean, I really think that, like, what makes us, our consciousness, our soul, like, isn't really bound by being a person. It's more about just, like, experiencing the 3D world. You know what I mean? It's more about just, like, consciousness
interacting with
interacting. Yeah, that's basically it. I think that, like, once like your soul decides to, like, be conscious, then you get a body, and whatever that is what you are, and that's it. Because, you know, everything is, like, made of the same stuff. Yeah. And if I really want to get into the weeds of it, I think that, like, we all have, what we really are is, like, a bunch of electromagnetic pulses that happen in our brain through the neurons and everything. Yeah. And that's, like, what carries on after you die. Okay.
And it stays together as a unity, right?
It could. It could just, I mean, I think that's all very, like, plain and...
Like, do you think Julian will be Julian? You know, like, will you think of your name and your identity? You know, so it won't be like, will you carry your memories with you?
I think that maybe there would probably be some kind of, like, an echo or something, like something that stays maybe, but I don't think that it really is that. It, like, I guess what I'm really getting at is that I don't think that there's really, like, a purpose to our souls or to everything that we're doing. It's just kind of like a natural reaction, like, people just come to be and then they die and they come to be again, or they don't, or,
now is this belief the process of a long, say, journey of trying to figure things out?
Definitely.
You did say it was complicated.
Yeah.
But how did you get to? Did you start out like in a family that, say, was religious or anything like that?
I did. I had a very religious childhood. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and I learned a lot from it. But eventually, I moved away from that, and since then, I've just spent a lot of time thinking about it. I mean, it was a huge part of my life. So now I've kind of developed my own views on what I think happens. It's definitely, like, informed and enriched from that experience. But I mean, it's pretty different from the base beliefs.
Yeah. What are you doing? Was there a particular reason you left the Jehovah's Witnesses, or?
I'm gay, so it was a bit.
I don't even know how they feel about
translate. That. Well, no, they don't have great feelings about it.
Okay.
So that was a big reason why I left, and you know, for a long time I really didn't believe in anything, and that's kind of why I started really thinking about it, because I realized that not believing in anything is kind of a tough. I mean, I remember that this is on YouTube. Oops.
You know what? If it turns out that you don't like the way it goes or whatever, I would
totally,
no problem. So just so you know. But would you say you believe in God? It sounds like you believe in like that you have a spirit almost, although it could go in many. It doesn't necessarily have your identity, so I'm trying to
I think
figure that out.
I think there could be God. I think that if there is a God, the closest, I mean, maybe this sounds cliche, but like the closest thing that we could have to it is our own experience and our own like association with spirituality. You know what I mean? Like that is us experiencing God or being God.
Like when I say do you believe in God, I guess what I'm thinking of when I say that is, do you believe there's a creator? So I'm not necessarily saying, the God of the Bible or whatever.
Yeah,
but
totally. I think that if there is, then it's probably something that we can't comprehend. It's probably something that's on a level that our physical human bodies can't comprehend.
Yeah, because God is spirit.
We have limitations of what we can see, hear, smell, even spiritually perceive, and like some things you can feel, but you really can't fully understand it. You know what I mean? So I think that God would be the same way if it exists. Or not if it exists, but if it's a figure.
Yeah.
I like to think more on the side of like God is us, like us in the world and everything.
So like the creator is also part of the creation?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or the creation's part of the creator? Like
right. Yeah.
Or the creation,
Right.
Yeah. Because that's kind of actually kind of like it's called pantheism. So like Hinduism, they generally believe that
there's one God,
one
God
unity or whatever, and
can be expressed in a million. There's a ton of different gods and all the same God.
Yeah. And now, like when you're growing up Jehovah's Witness, what was your impression of God from that experience, or what should it have been? I don't know if you believed it or whatever, but like what?
Yeah, I mean,
how did they?
Because I did, and I think that it's just another sect of Christianity, so it's all very, very similar.
Yeah. Like you can have a relationship with God, kind of thing, or?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think that I had a lot of fear surrounding the idea of God. I definitely believed it. I thought it was secret.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was raised in it.
Did you go to with adults like on the outreach, door to door?
Yeah, we used to do that. Yeah. So it was.
How did you feel about that?
It was a big part of my life for a long time. I had a lot of anxiety. I was a very shy kid.
Yeah.
So I wasn't very about it, or usually just stay behind my mom. But it was a lot of. It was all in all a positive experience. People would either just say no, or it would be a really great conversation.
Yeah. To be honest, I as a Christian, I believe our faith is meant to be shared. It's not something to keep to myself.
Right.
So I try to promote it, but not too many church people show much interest.
Yeah.
And part of it, I'm not trying to put you down or anything, but part of it is it's like, well, we don't want to be like those Jehovah's Witnesses out there or those Mormons,
Right.
Because they're kind of more, I don't know if you say aggressive or just active in doing that. And so, I mean, but at the same time, who's getting out there and starting the conversations and things like that. So the one thing I try to do different is sometimes I have encountered Mormon missionaries or Jehovah's Witnesses, and it feels almost like a canned speech, like they have a certain line of thinking they want to take you through, and I'm trying to set an example of let's just have a conversation, and find out where people are at, and
no, that's true. What you're doing is really not that. It's not that different from what they do.
Right.
You're right. It is more open of a conversation, and I think that's the best way to discuss religion is to go into it just open and not trying to put your beliefs on anybody else, but trying to hear their beliefs and then, find common ground.
Yeah. I do. So as a Christian, I would want everyone to be a Christian. So I'm not denying that,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have a belief that God is the one. Like for me, by the time I was a Christian, like by the time I realized the Christian message, I realized I believed it. In other words, I didn't just decide to believe. It was something that happened as a result of conversations and not as a result of a decision I made.
What was the conclusion you came to?
Yeah, and it was more like a realization of I already have this faith. I already believe this, And I guess what I'm trying to say is it was a work of God in my life. It wasn't something that someone convinced me to do or persuaded me. It was God moving in my life. And so I feel like that's, if someone's going to have an experience with God, it's got to be with God, not with me or not as a result.
Right, yes.
But at the same time, I feel like a lot of people have misconceptions or misunderstandings about Christianity and the gospel, and so I do want to, share that. So,
totally.
But conversationally,
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So,
yeah, it's definitely something that I've put a lot of thought into. I've done a lot of research and I had a lot of knowledge already about Christianity just from upbringing, but I researched all different types of religions and mythology class, and kind of, this is like what I ended up, this is my takeaway from everything. Like, my beliefs and ideas are still changing, but you're right, at the heart of it, it really does come down to me looking at myself and thinking about what's resonated and what made me feel something.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're aware that different denominations within Christianity wouldn't accept gayness, or someone being gay, but some do. Have you explored some of those that do, or?
No, Christianity just doesn't, where it did make sense for you, after everything that I've looked into with it doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily being gay that turned you off to it. It was.
Well, originally, I left pretty young, so it's.
Because I have talked with some people who say that is the issue. That's the reason, why they wouldn't be a Christian.
No.
So that's not for you.
It's just it doesn't align with what I see in my own spiritual thing.
Is there a particular part of it that you find just hard to believe, or even offensive, or?
No, not at all. It's just the baseline beliefs are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Just like the Jews in any religion, they have similar morals, but their small beliefs that are different. They just have slightly different views. I can appreciate it, and I appreciate the idea of instilling those morals in people and giving people a reason to live by them and to really uphold them. But for me personally, it's just not a way that I need to go about doing it. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
What's your understanding of the difference? So I'm I guess you'd say a conservative Protestant Christian. What do you think would be the difference between a Jehovah's Witness and myself? Have you thought that through or understand how?
I mean, I know how Jehovah's Witnesses, I know what their beliefs are, and most of like the things they do, like having to do with not celebrating holidays or stuff like that, which is a big difference for a lot of people. That's a big like deciding factor. It's just because those have pagan roots, and they don't believe in anything that has a pagan root to it.
Yeah. So like
it has to do with like false idol worship and things like that.
I see.
There's like it's not
so it's kind of the expression of the faith and the traditions that grow up around it, you know. So I've talked with like say Muslims or people from other religions, and then there's Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox, So I do see a lot of like external differences that people disagree on, but just to let you know, like for me, like why wouldn't I become a Jehovah's Witness, right? If I believe it's important to share my faith, and I see a group, that's out there sharing their faith, why don't I join them, And the reason would be because we see the Jehovah's Witnesses as a works-based faith. You know what that means? Works-based. So believing in God and believing in that God created us, and believing that we have gone our own way and been alienated from God, so we're not in a right relationship with our Creator because of our sin, because we do our own thing, we break the commandments. For example, 10 Commandments. Have I ever told a lie? Yeah, told a lie. Have I ever stolen something in my life? Yes, I have. I'd be a thief. I'd be a liar and a thief. Have I ever, looked with lust? Not to mention, adultery, but just looking with lust. Yes, I have. I'd be an adulterer at heart. Have I ever called someone a bad name in anger? Jesus said, you'd be in danger of the fire of hell. Like he was talking about murder, but then he said, don't even hurt people with your words. Right? So on down the 10 Commandments, I've broken them all, right? And so how could I ever expect to be with my Creator God in heaven when I die? How could I'm lost. I'm condemned, and that's a very negative thing. But the positive part is that so a works-based religion would say, well, if you do enough good to outweigh your bad, you can kind of earn your way to paradise, to heaven, to God. See what I'm saying? And so I'm not. Yeah. So here's my impression is that you need faith in Jesus, but you also need to add to that other things to kind of make yourself worthy or somehow earn that salvation. You need to give, just like you have things that they just believe that you should act and live in the way that God wanted you to. And I don't know why I'm even speaking to the Jehovah's Witness. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. Right. But you want me to understand them better?
Yeah, I guess.
Growing up in it,
I don't know why the conversation did that one. But anyways, it's just... Yeah,
I'm just trying to explain, like, the difference between a works-based is, like, I can somehow earn heaven, whereas the Bible really teaches, no, we're saved by grace, through faith. It's not of ourselves. It's a gift of God. I don't know if you know the verse that I'm kind of quoting, but from Ephesians. But it's not of works, so that no one can boast. We can't earn God's favor. It's a gift given to us. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand.
And so it's like, well, then why would I want to be a good person? Well, why not? He gave his life for us. He died for us. Why wouldn't we want to respond with gratitude?
Right.
And so it's a life of gratitude and awe, and just wanting to please my Heavenly Father, by the life I lead and represent Him well, things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I feel like the reason I want to bring that up is because you were saying like Christianity's not for you. I guess I want to bring it up because I wonder if that's your impression of Christianity is somehow, like, if you observe all of these different commandments, then you'll somehow, and I wouldn't want that either. That would be a life of drudgery, but that's not it.
No, that's not it. No, that's not it at all.
Yeah.
One big difference in my belief is that people are just inherently good. People, have these morals have been, they've been cultures for our whole lives and for generations past. And there's something that we have, and I think that going about saying that we need to, that there's some kind of end goal at all, like going to heaven or something like that, and being incentive takes away from us. We are being incentive. We are that. We're good. We all have the capability of being good. We don't need a motivation.
Yeah. So you would say you're a pretty good person?
I try to be. I mean, I don't think that there are. I don't think that people. You have to put effort in. You have to do good things. You have to be a good person. Be a good person.
Yeah.
If
do you feel like there's some bad people out there?
I think there's people who do bad things. I think that I don't know. I don't like to think of it as black and white as that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that things are very nuanced. There's a lot of reasons and experiences behind why people do what they do, so it's not as simple as say somebody's a good person or a bad person.
Yeah, I agree. Problem with anyone being good is, like, what is our definition of good? Is it comparing ourselves to, like you're saying, like, we have the capability, or we try to do good, but what about the times when we do choose to be bad, do choose to go our own way,
There's usually a negative consequence to it.
Yeah, well,
I think that those things, very negative consequences in the real world that have implications when you do something that other people don't like.
Yeah.
And
then again, we can think of people who, like, constantly are doing bad and actually being rewarded for it,
Yeah.
Although I kind of think, how could anyone live with themselves? They must have some kind of negative repercussion from it. But so that would definitely be a key difference, though, because Christianity would say, no, we are inherently evil, bad, that we do go our own way and do our own thing. And that's why grace is so amazing, because it's like God sees us, and despite who we are, he doesn't love me because I'm lovable, and he's just like in love with Jeff, it's a gift of God, not something that I've done or earned. So that would definitely be a key difference. And actually, when I asked if there's anything about Christianity that's offensive, I would say the idea that, so, like, the idea of unconditional love, right? There's no conditions. God just loves you because there's no conditions. Believe it or not, I think that's actually very offensive to people, because people actually want to be loved for something. In other words, you don't love me in spite of who I am. You love me because of who I am. See what I'm saying?
Sure.
And God, and so Christianity is actually teaching, no, God sees our sin and all the different ways in which we sin, and he loves us anyway. And I want to be able to say, no, I don't want you to love me in spite of that. I want you to love me because of who I am, all the great things I do,
Sure, yeah.
And so it's actually offensive, I think, this idea of unconditional love. It doesn't sound like it's offensive, because it sounds very accepting, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that that's deep down, like that's what a lot of people don't like. It's like, I want to be loved for who I am, not in spite of who I am.
I mean, your parents should love you unconditionally? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have children, if you love your children, you do, or family?
I do. I mean, I imagine there could do something that would just make me hate them, you know, like if they, or, yeah, do I, that sounds pretty harsh. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost have to be like going against my parental instinct to love my children, you know, but if they were so horrible, I think there's a limit. I definitely think there's a limit to my ability to love, sure, you know.
Is that human, or is that something that God possesses too? Because doesn't it say in the Bible that God possesses full love towards creation?
Yeah.
So
well,
I think that's a human limitation.
He actually, he has enemies. And actually the Bible portrays God like before you were before we're forgiven and before Christ, before our faith in Christ, we're enemies of God. We're living as enemies. And so we're actually, and this is also offensive, the Bible doesn't say everyone's a child of God. I don't know if you know that. It talks about those who put their faith in Christ are adopted into his family and become his children. We're all made in the image of God, you know, so I definitely have every reason to love everybody that I see, maybe love or respect, or, you know, treat with great dignity. So sure, you got to get going. I've gone past my 5 minutes, but
I just got off a 10-hour shift. So
oh wow! Yeah, I could turn this off and I'll give you my information. But maybe I could challenge you to think about like the core reasons why you do hate or not hate. I'm not gonna say hate. Why you're not attracted to Christianity, and I think one of them would be, you know, the idea that we want to be loved for ourselves, not in spite of ourselves. So, like, I think you hit the nail on the head when you say you believe everyone has, you know, is basically good. So I'll leave it at that. You know.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So.